Welcome to I Love This Thing So Fricking Much, a podcast about passion. My name is Sophie Katz, and today I am joined by Jeremy, Melissa's friend. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me, Sophie. I'm really excited.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. So here's how this works. Jeremy will have 3 minutes to talk about something that he loves. This can be a person, place, thing, concept, activity, anything he wants. Our only requirement is that he loves it wholeheartedly and wants to tell us why. Are you ready, Jeremy?
I am excited. Let's do this.
All right, got my timer here. Now, what do you love so freaking much?
So family history has always, well, not always, but has for the better part of the past 2 years been something that's been really important to me. And it's come to be something that I love digging into and learning more about. For me, family history is really a window into the past that makes us appreciate both the present and the future. It's really a journey of gratitude and appreciation. And, something nearly all of us, you, me, Melissa, probably all your friends, have ancestors who helped us get to where we are today. And if it weren't for the risks that they took, their decision to leave all that they've known, come thousands of miles to this land with a different language, culture, economy, you name it, then our lives wouldn't be what they are. And I think it's really cool to go back and appreciate that. Just imagine, Sophie, where you'd be if your family didn't take that risk. I wouldn't be a consultant in DC. Melissa wouldn't be working at Disney, and you probably wouldn't be hosting this podcast, quite frankly. It's cool because in both the world of the internet and in class and school, you take history classes and sometimes you learn about these things, the historical context of where your ancestors were, and to be able to use these documents and these testimonies to really blend what you learned in school with your own family's experience. To me, as someone who always thought that history was my favorite subject in school, thinks that's just the coolest thing. Another thing is family history is a way to really keep people alive. I've always thought that when someone passes away, we don't just lose that person, but we lose their history, their personality, their memories, and the connections that they had with the people who came before them. And I feel like while it's not the same, looking at all these documents and all the things that we were able to learn from these people when they were alive just really helps us not just keep their own memories alive, but the legacies of the people who came before them. So to that end, I've been able to retrieve some immigration documents, birth and marriage records, death certificates, and more dating back to 1700s Poland. And it's been one of the most gratifying experiences of my life. And I think nowadays my family views me as the family historian. And if they have any questions, they always come to me. So it's really cool to be that resource and to do something which I've found truly meaningful.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you for telling us about family history today.
Of course.
You mentioned that your interest in family history really took off in the last 2 years. Was there something in particular that sparked this interest?
That's a really good question. When we were cleaning out my grandparents' old house, we found a bunch of documents in this chest, and the documents were Russian. They weren't in English, and no one in my family who was there at the time, who I showed the documents to, knew what they said because none of us speak Russian. But fortunately, I have my cousin's wife, Christina. She lives in California. She grew up in Russia and was able to help get a lot of these documents translated for me. And we were able to figure out where exactly our family was from, when they came to the US, all the permits and authorizations they needed from the authorities to travel. And from there, my interest kind of blew up. So not only did I look at my mom's family history, but I looked at my mom's dad's family history, as well as both of my father's parents, their histories as well. So it really just took off from there. And I think being in lockdown for a lot of 2020, it gave me something to do and allowed me to really learn a lot and make the most of my time being at home.
Were there any documents in particular, or maybe stories you uncovered on your research quest here that stand out in your memory?
So one of the documents that we had was a family passport that my great-great-grandfather had to have stamped by the authorities, both in Russia as well as in Germany, from where the family left to take a couple of boats. The first boat that they took was to Baltimore. They also took one to Philadelphia. My great-grandma came to Philadelphia, and then they made their way down to Baltimore. And I think a document that's related to that was the receipt for passage that was paid for by someone living in Baltimore at the time who I never heard of. And based on the things that I have here, as well as the research that I did, I was able to find out that my great great grandparents' brother in law ended up paying for them to come to Baltimore and house them for the first several years that they were in the US. So just making those connections, I feel like has been really cool. And I feel like that's really been eye-opening. It allowed me to find this person's great, great, great grandchildren living in Austin, Texas. So yeah, it's really cool the rabbit holes that you go down just with these documents, which were around long before the internet.
And that came from a receipt.
Yeah, so that was one of the documents in the chest that I mentioned during my intro.
Ooh.
And yeah, so making those connections, kind of connecting the dots and kind of meandering like how you see fit. Like there's no right or wrong way to do it. I think that's the beauty of it. No one's judging you, but just making these connections on your own, using the documents that you have has been really cool.
It sounds kind of like detective work.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like you have all these different databases, you have all these different resources. So like as a result of what I've done, I reached out to some people in Latvia and Eastern Europe to like figure out what records they have of my family. I've been there. I've been to Annapolis, the capital of Maryland, just to look at more local stuff. I've used different databases from Israel. So like it's really been something that's taken me, quite frankly, all over the world. All over the world from the comfort of my computer.
Do you have any advice about if someone is just starting on this journey, how to find databases that might give them more information about their families?
The thing that you should do is really kind of find a home database. So for me, that was ancestry.com, which really amalgamates or takes together different databases from all over the world and like just houses them under one platform. So you're able to search multiple databases at once using Ancestry. And sometimes if you type in something and you think you get a hit, Ancestry might not have that document. So at that point, it gives you directions or gives you a suggested path to go get the document that you want. So you could go to that website where those documents are housed or just contact them directly, like what I did with the people in Latvia to get everything that you want. So it really is, like you said, detective work. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that your only choice is to go about it in a chaotic way. So if you're interested in this, or if anyone's interested in this, definitely get an ancestry.com account. And I think just let what you find take you along your journey.
You mentioned before that you think of collecting family history as a way of keeping people alive. Could you talk a little more about that idea?
Or one of my biggest regrets in life is not asking my grandpa about his family history. Him and I were incredibly close, and he died in 2007, long before I knew anything about Ancestry.com or really developed this interest. So I feel like when he passed away, I didn't just lose him, but I lost memories of his parents, his grandparents, who I later found out that, especially in the case of his grandparents, that he knew quite well. He actually ended up for a period of time in his childhood living with one of his grandparents. So I think you lose those memories and you lose just knowing more about the people who came before him. In this case, the people who really took the risks to come to the US. And they might have not known at the time, but give you the life that you have today. It's really a depressing thought, but yeah, people's memories die. The history that these documents can't really contextualize, like the personalities, the hobbies of these people, you lose that too. And I think the next best thing, although it doesn't come remotely close to like actually knowing the people or knowing all about them, is looking at these documents and trying to put together the puzzle with what you have and trying to let go of what you don't have.
We can certainly be impacted by the stories about someone and how they lived their life, even if we never met them.
That's definitely true. My great uncle, he's in his mid 80s right now, and he's also into this family history stuff. So I've been asking him about his parents, about his aunts and uncles, and like everything that he knew about them. And that's definitely been something that's helped me put a human face on these people that unfortunately documents can't put a human face on someone. They can just tell you about where they were, where they went, when they became a citizen, when they died, etc.
Is there anything that you don't like about family history or this journey of collecting family history? And if so, how do you handle that?
It's not that I don't like it about family history, but sometimes you reach a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm someone that absolutely hates not knowing stuff. Like, I can stay up at night thinking about the unknown and what if I did this, or is there a better way to go about this? And I think anytime you hit a dead end, it's really, really frustrating. And sometimes you go down a rabbit hole trying to figure out other ways to get around it. And unfortunately, the information is just not there for whatever reason. And that's something that I've been struggling to accept and have, I guess, reluctantly accepted. So I think for anyone who decides to go into their family history, you're going to find a lot of stuff, but you might also be disappointed in some respects.
Sometimes there are just holes in the story.
Yeah, that is true.
But taking that journey at all means you have more of a story to tell and remember than you did before.
Yeah, like by no means does not knowing part of your family history discount the gratification that I received from figuring out the parts of the family history that no one's uncovered before. Like for me, there have been times when people have said like what I found has brought tears to their eyes and just, yeah. So whenever I hit a brick wall, I try to hold on to the gratification that I've brought others.
Jeremy, thank you so much for telling us about something you love today.
Of course. No, thank you so much, Sophie, for having me on. And I'm really happy that I've been able to do this.
And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in today. Don't forget to use the hashtag #LoveThisThingCast to tell us about the things you love. I Love This Thing So Fricking Much is a production of Through the Window Media. This episode was directed and edited by Sophie A. Katz. You can find us at Through the Window on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. That is THROU the Window at all the social media sites. Be good to yourself, be kind to each other, and you'll hear from us again soon.